I woke up tied to a metal chair, my mouth dry, my dress soaked in urine, and my legs bleeding. I couldn't see clearly, the room was dark. The smell of sweat and old blood filled the air. I screamed, but no one came. My hands were chained behind me. I felt cold, wet cement under my bare feet. Then I saw him, my uncle, standing at the doorway, smiling. Tears rushed to my eyes. This was the same uncle who used to give me biscuits as a little girl. The same man who carried me on his lap, who called me his special princess. But now, here he was, with a needle in one hand and a belt in the other. I begged him, "Please. I'm getting married in 4 days. Please let me go." But he laughed. "You're not marrying anyone. You belong to me now." Collapse. The needle went in my arm. I screamed again, but it was too late. Darkness. I don't know how long I was asleep, but when I opened my eyes again, I was still in the same basement. No windows. Just a flickering bulb above my head and my uncle's shadow standing close by. My cloth was gone. He had changed me into an old t-shirt. I asked him why he was doing this. His answer: "So you can carry my children. In secret. Just us. No one will know." My body went numb. My chest started pounding. My skin burned with fear. I knew no one would find me here. I knew my fiancé would be searching, calling my name. But no one knew where I was. No one ever came to this part of town. This basement was abandoned. And my uncle. He had planned everything. He brought me food. But I couldn't eat. My stomach twisted. He sat beside me. Touched my legs. Cried. I cried so hard that my throat bled. "Stop it," I whispered. "Please. I'm your niece. I'm your blood." But he didn't care. He kept me drugged. I don't know how many times I passed out. I remember seeing flashes. His hands, my blood, his face. Then I would black out again. By the second day I had stopped fighting. My body was too weak. I had urinated on myself. My lips were swollen. My hair was falling out in strands. But every time I looked at the broken wristwatch in the corner of the room, I remembered my wedding. My wedding. In just 2 more days. Was Daniel still waiting for me? Did he think I had run away? Or that I changed my mind? I wished I could scream through the earth and tell him the truth. That I was kidnapped by my own uncle, the same man who danced with me on my 21st birthday. The same man who sent me a gift the day I got engaged. Now he wanted me to give birth to his child in the dark, like a dog. I planned to kill myself on the 3rd day. I made up my mind. If I didn't die, he would use me forever. And no one would ever know where I was. So I waited till he slept. I searched the room with my eyes. Then I saw it. A piece of broken glass beside the corner pipe. Crawled toward it. Cut my knee. I didn't care. I reached for it. Then I heard footsteps again. It wasn't my uncle. It was someone else. And what happened next was nothing short of a miracle. First I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. But no. I heard the footsteps again. Softer this time. Not heavy like my uncle's boots. Someone was inside the basement with us. I held my breath. My heart thumped so hard I felt it in my ears. Suddenly, a dim flashlight shone through the crack in the basement door. I dragged myself back to the chair and pretended to be asleep. If it was my uncle again and he found me holding that broken glass, he would kill me. The door creaked open. Pete. It was not my uncle. It was a little boy. Maybe 7, maybe 10. Holding a flashlight and a piece of bread. He wore oversized slippers, and his eyes were wide with fear. Eyes met. We both froze. Then I whispered, "Help me, please, help me." He blinked. His lips trembled. "Are you the girl he brought here?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "Yes, please, help me." He looked behind him, then whispered, "I'm his neighbor's son. I come here sometimes to pick tools for my dad." I didn't know someone was locked here. I wanted to cry. But I couldn't waste any more tears. "Please untie me. Please." I begged, almost choking on my words. He dropped the bread, stepped forward, and knelt beside me. His hands were shaking. If he sees me, he will kill me too. I won't tell anyone. Please help me. My wedding is in 2 days. He kidnapped me. He reached for the rope and began to untie the knot on my legs first. His small fingers worked fast. Just then, bang. We both froze. The step. Rest. Heavy. My uncle was coming down the stairs. No, 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 I whispered in panic. Hide. Hide. The boy darted into the back of the basement and squeezed behind a stack of paint cans. I tried to retie the rope back around my ankles. My hands shook. The basement door opened. My uncle entered, breathing heavily. He looked at me. I looked down, pretending to be dazed. He walked over, touched my face. Still weak. You'll be stronger tomorrow. I didn't say a word. He placed a bottle of water beside me, then turned toward the tools. He didn't see the boy. He didn't notice the bread. He didn't notice the broken glass I had hidden in my sleeve. He picked up a screwdriver, grumbled something under his breath, then walked out of the basement again. I waited until I couldn't hear his footsteps anymore. Then I let out the breath I was holding. The boy slowly crawled out from hiding. I need to go, he whispered. I'll come back later. Wait, please, take this glass with you. Hide it. If he sees it with me, he'll know. He nodded. Then I said, tell someone. Please. Anyone. He looked afraid. I will try. But he's very dangerous. Everyone in the neighborhood is scared of him. Even my dad. He tucked the glass in his pocket and slipped out quietly. That night I stayed awake. My arms were free now. My legs were still tied, but I had hope. Real hope. Until the morning came. And he came back with a baby cot. Full baby crib. Painted pink. He dropped it beside me and smiled. You'll need this soon, he said. We're starting today. I screamed. I screamed so loud my throat tore. He slapped me hard. My lips split open. He dragged me by my hair. He ripped my t-shirt. He was ready to destroy me completely. But suddenly, knock. A knock on the basement door. He froze. Another knock. Louder this time. Who is that? He growled. No answer. He walked up the stairs angrily. Opened the door. And then I heard it. A police voice. Sir, open your gate now. We got a report. I stopped breathing. Police. The word echoed in my ears like a miracle. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. I crawled to the foot of the stairs, still tied at the ankles, trembling. My face was bloody, my body sore, but I pressed my ear to the door, praying they had truly come for me. I heard my uncle's voice, calm and fake. Yes, officer. What's the problem? Someone responded, firm and direct. We got an anonymous report. A child said you were keeping a woman in your basement. My heart stopped. The little boy. He told them. My uncle laughed. A woman. In my basement. Officer, there's no one here except me. That boy must be confused. Step aside, sir. We need to search your property. Now. There was silence. Then I heard the sharp snap of handcuffs. My uncle shouted. You can't come into my house. Where is your warrant? Another officer replied coldly. We have cause. Now move. I rushed back to my chair and threw myself against it. I had to look helpless. If he came back down and found me near the stairs, he might kill me before they reached me. Suddenly, boom. The basement door flew open. Flashlights. Loud voices. Ma'am, are you okay? I started to cry. Hard. I couldn't speak. I just nodded. 2 officers ran to me. One pulled out a small knife and cut the ropes. The other covered me with his jacket. He kept me here. He said I had to miss my wedding. He said I belonged to him. I choked on the words. They helped me up. My legs gave out. They held me on both sides and carried me upstairs. My eyes stung from the sudden light. I was outside again. Could feel the sun. Could breathe. There were 3 police cars. My uncle was pinned to the ground, screaming. The boy who helped me stood at the corner, holding his mother's hand, crying. He looked at me. I smiled weakly at him. You saved me, I whispered. An ambulance came. I was rushed to the hospital. The nurses gasped when they saw my body. Scratches, bruises, injection marks. I had been drugged, starved, and beaten. They gave me painkillers. They cleaned me up. They asked if I had someone to call. Daniel, I whispered. My fiancé. They handed me a phone. Dialed. He picked on the first ring. Hello. I couldn't talk. Cried. Then I said, It's me. It's me, baby. I'm alive. He screamed. I heard the phone drop. Then he picked it again. Where are you? Where have you been? I thought you were dead. I told him everything. The hospital. The basement. My uncle. He drove 4 hours that night to get to me. When he walked into that hospital room and saw me, he fell on his knees. He held my hand. He kissed my scars. I never stopped loving you, he said. We'll still get married. I don't care what happened. You're mine. I cried again. This time, tears of relief. But peace didn't last long. Because just as we were about to leave the hospital, a nurse walked in pale. She held a piece of paper in her hand. Miss, I'm sorry, but we ran some blood tests. My heart dropped. Your uncle, he didn't just abuse you physically. Froze. She continued. There's a chance. You might be pregnant. I couldn't breathe. Pregnant. Whoa. Couldn't be. I screamed so loud the walls echoed. My hands went cold. I fell off the bed. Daniel rushed to me. What is it? What's going on? The nurse looked down, then whispered. We're not 100% sure yet. But the early test shows a positive result. We're running a second one now to confirm. I grabbed the paper from her hand and stared at the word. Preliminary result. Positive. I collapsed in Daniel's arms. He held me tight. No matter what it says, I still love you. This isn't your fault. But I wasn't listening. My mind was gone. My body was still in that basement. My uncle's voice, his hands, his laugh, they haunted me. I sat on the floor and screamed. Loud. Animal pain. The nurses tried to help me. Pushed everyone away. I didn't want comfort. I didn't want food. I didn't want to live anymore. What kind of life is this? I whispered to myself. I was 2 days from happiness. And he took everything from me. Daniel knelt beside me. Listen to me, please. I don't care what happened in that basement. I just want you back. You're still my bride. But what if it's true? I asked, staring into his eyes. What if I'm carrying that monster's child? He looked away. His lips trembled. But he didn't run. I will love you, either way. I wept in silence after that. The test results came back later that evening. Confirmed pregnant. The doctor entered gently. I'm so sorry. We'll get you a trauma counselor. And we'll explain your options. Options. Terminate. Keep. Adoption. I wanted none of it. I just wanted my wedding day back. I wanted to be in my white dress, walking down the aisle with flowers in my hand, not lying in a hospital gown, broken and pregnant from a man I trusted as family. That night, Daniel didn't leave my side. He lay beside me on the hospital couch and held my hand while I cried in my sleep. Had nightmares. My uncle's voice. You'll carry my child. You'll miss that wedding. I woke up screaming. And then something strange happened the next morning. Police officer came to my room. We need your help, he said. Your uncle won't talk to us. He keeps saying the same thing. I sat up, barely able to speak. What is he saying? The officer paused. Then said. He insists you agreed to everything. That you came willingly. That you were in love with him. And that you begged him to run away with you instead of marrying your fiancé. I felt like vomiting. I shouted. That's a lie. A dirty lie. I would never. The officer nodded. We know. But, do you have proof he kidnapped you? Or that he assaulted you without your consent? My mouth went dry. Proof. The drugs had faded from my system. The rope burns were healing. The pregnancy test showed I had sex, but not when or how. Tears filled my eyes. There was a little boy. He saw me. He helped untie me. He called you. The officer sighed. We're trying to find him. But his family packed up and left town last night. They're scared. What? Gasped. No, no, no. He's my only witness. Daniel stood up angry. This is madness. She was bleeding. She was locked in a basement. And you need proof. I'm sorry, the officer said. The justice system moves with evidence. And your uncle's lawyer is already building a case. They may argue that she stayed willingly. I stared at the ceiling, numb. No justice. No truth. It was happening again, my voice being buried. My pain being doubted. But that night, I made a decision. If no one would fight for me, I would fight for myself. I stood up from my hospital bed. I looked at Daniel. And I said, we're getting married tomorrow. I'm not letting him win. He was stunned. But you're in pain. I will not let that man take everything from me. Called the church. The decorator. The guest. Everyone thought I had disappeared forever. But on the fourth day, I wore my white dress. I walked down that aisle. With bruises on my arms. With tears in my eyes. With life growing inside me. And as the doors opened, I saw someone standing at the back of the church. It was my uncle. Smiling. Watching me. And he wasn't alone. Froze. My legs stopped moving. The music faded in my ears. There he was, my uncle, standing at the back of the church in a clean suit, hands folded, smiling like a proud father at his daughter's wedding. But beside him was a woman, middle-aged, dark glasses, and a sharp, cold face. She looked at me like I was trash. Daniel turned and followed my gaze. His hands tightened around mine. Don't look at him, he whispered. He can't touch you now. You're safe. But I wasn't safe. I could feel it in my bones. The priest was already waiting. The guests were all standing. The aisle stretched ahead of me like a road I wasn't ready to walk. I took a step. Then another. People were whispering. Some gasped when they saw the scars on my neck. Others stared at my stomach. She looks pregnant. Wasn't she missing? What happened to her? But I didn't care. What? Each step was for every girl who had ever been silenced. Every child who trusted someone they shouldn't. Every bride who almost never made it to her wedding day. I reached the altar. Daniel held my hands and smiled. You made it. Tears ran down my face. But then, just as the priest began the vows, the woman beside my uncle stood up. She raised a folder and shouted, "Stop this wedding!" Everyone gasped. The priest stepped back. "Excuse me, ma'am. I am a lawyer," she said. "And this marriage cannot proceed. My client has filed a court injunction against this union." The guests began to murmur. The atmosphere changed instantly. The woman pointed at me. "This young woman is carrying my client's child. And there is reason to believe she was in a romantic relationship with him. There are no medical records proving force. She disappeared on her own. And now he wants to be part of the child's life. You cannot legally marry until paternity is resolved." I couldn't breathe. She was trying to stop my wedding. The priest looked at Daniel. Then at me. "Is this true?" "No," I screamed. "She's lying. He kidnapped me. He drugged me. I was tied in his basement." The lawyer smirked. "Do you have video proof? Any signed confession? A medical document proving he drugged you? Or did you simply change your mind after spending a few nights with him?" Broke down. My body crumbled to the floor. I was shaking. My veil fell off. Daniel knelt beside me, holding me tightly. "We don't need this wedding to prove anything. Love you. You don't have to stand here for anyone." The priest looked helpless. The church was in chaos. And the doors flew open again. And in walked the little boy. The same little boy who had helped untie me. He was holding his mother's hand. His face was scared but determined. and behind them, 2 more officers. The crowd went silent. One officer spoke. "We received a call this morning. This child has a statement to give." He confirms the victim was tied, drugged, and assaulted by her uncle in a locked basement. He saw it himself. And the boy's father confirms the building layout matches her description. The lawyer's mouth dropped open. The guests gasped again. My uncle tried to leave, but the officers blocked him. "You're under arrest," they said. "This time with a witness." My uncle lunged. "You think I'll let her walk free? She's mine. She's mine." They tackled him to the floor. Handcuffs clicked. I watched as the man who had destroyed my childhood and nearly ruined my life was dragged out of the church. I couldn't stop crying. The boy walked to me and whispered, "I'm sorry I ran. I was scared. But I had to come back." I hugged him. "You saved my life," I said. "Twice." The priest took a deep breath and looked at us. "Shall we continue?" he asked softly. And this time, we said our vows. With bruises on my body. With life in my womb. With a scarred heart and shaking hands. But also with courage. And love. And strength. After the ceremony, the guests stayed silent. No music. No dancing. Just tears. Some hugged me. Others said nothing. But I saw it in their eyes. They believed me now. They saw the truth. But later that night, as I stood in the mirror, still in my white dress, touching my stomach, I asked myself the question no one else could answer. What am I going to do with this child? I stared at my reflection. My white dress was stained with sweat and blood. My eyes were red. My lips were trembling. I touched my stomach again, soft, flat, yet already full of fear. I was carrying his child. Daniel entered the room quietly. He walked over to me, stood behind me in the mirror, and wrapped his arms around my waist. "I meant everything I said at the altar," he whispered. "You're my wife now. And nothing will change that." I couldn't speak. Child. A child from the man who had destroyed me. How could I raise it? How could I look into its eyes and not see him? Daniel kissed my cheek. "Whatever you decide, I'll stand with you." We spent the night in silence. No honeymoon. No celebration. Just quiet breathing and shared pain. The next day we returned to the hospital. Counselor met with us. She listened as I told the story again. Every painful moment, every dark hour in that basement. Then she asked gently, "Do you want to keep the baby?" Froze. Daniel squeezed my hand. He didn't speak for me. I said nothing for a long time. Then finally, I said, "I don't know." She nodded. "That's okay. We'll have time. But I want to tell you something. What happened to you was evil. What was done to you is not your fault. But this child is still innocent. You have the right to grieve what you've lost, and you also have the right to choose what happens next. Whatever you choose, it doesn't make you weak." Her words stayed with me. That night I had a dream. I was back in the basement, but this time I wasn't tied. I was holding a baby. A newborn. Soft skin. Big eyes. It looked nothing like my uncle. Looked like me. I woke up crying. I asked Daniel, "What if I keep it and it destroys me every day?" He replied, "Then we'll get help. We'll heal together. And what if I love it and it heals me?" He smiled. "Then that child will be the greatest miracle of all." We didn't make a decision that day. But I knew I was no longer afraid to face it. Weeks passed. My uncle's trial began. He pleaded not guilty. Said I was in love with him and wanted to elope. The lawyer tried to destroy my character, bring up old photos, twist my words. But then the boy took the stand. He told the court how he found me tied. How I begged for help. How my uncle said, "You're not marrying anyone. You're mine now." That boy's voice, soft, innocent, was louder than all the lies. And when the judge banged his gavel, "Guilty," my uncle was sentenced to 35 years in prison. I wept. Daniel wept with me. Justice. At last. And 3 months later, I sat in the doctor's office, staring at the ultrasound screen. Heartbeat, fast and strong. The doctor smiled. "Would you like to know the gender?" I nodded slowly. "It's a girl." My hand covered my mouth. A girl. Daughter. Something inside me broke and healed at the same time. And right there in that moment I whispered, "I'm going to keep her." I named her Hope. 'Cause that's what she gave me. Not because she erased the pain, but because she reminded me that something pure could still come out of something evil. I carried her for 9 long months, every kick a reminder that I had survived, that I had taken what was meant to destroy me, and turned it into life. But it wasn't easy. People whispered behind my back. Some called her that man's child. Some said I should have given her up. Others asked if I would ever tell her the truth. I didn't have all the answers. I was still learning how to live again. Every time I changed her diaper or rocked her to sleep, I wondered what I'd say when she grew old enough to ask, "Who's my father?" Daniel, God bless his heart, loved her like she was his own. He was there when she was born. He cut the cord. He cried holding her for the first time. "She's perfect," he whispered. But some nights I still woke up screaming. Flashbacks, panic attacks, darkness closing in. One night, I looked at Hope in her crib and whispered, "Do you know what your father did to me?" She blinked, innocent, untouched. And I realized, I never wanted her to carry my pain as her identity. I decided, her story would begin with love, not horror. Months passed. I joined a survivors group. I met other women, some abused by uncles, some by fathers, some by strangers. We cried together. We healed together. We held each other's hands when the world didn't believe us. One woman said, "Our scars don't make us dirty. They prove we lived." That sentence stayed with me. On Hope's first birthday, I wore the same wedding dress I wore down the aisle. It barely fit anymore. But I didn't care. I held her in my arms, and Daniel took pictures. We laughed. We smiled. But in my heart I still battled fear. What if my uncle got out one day? What if Hope ever met him without knowing? What if one day she looked like him? The fear lingered. But I made a promise. She would never meet that monster. Not while I was alive. One day when she was 2, she brought me a drawing. Stick figures. "Who's this?" I asked. "Me," she said proudly. "And this?" "Mama," she giggled. Smiled. "And this one?" She paused, then said softly, "Daddy." And then she pointed to a small figure in the corner, drawn in black. "And who's that?" asked, my heart racing. Her answer, "I don't know. But I see him sometimes. In my dreams." I dropped the paper. My hand shook. "Where do you see him?" I shrugged. "In the basement. He looks at me. But I'm not scared. I tell him to go away." Froze. She had never heard about the basement. She didn't know anything about what happened. But somehow, something remained. A shadow in her dreams. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed beside her bed, holding her hand, watching, waiting. And then, around 3:00 a.m., I heard a whisper in the dark. Familiar. "You should have stayed." I turned on the light. No one was there. But the temperature in the room dropped. And Hope was shivering in her sleep. The whisper wouldn't leave my ears. "You should have stayed." I searched the room. Under the crib. In the wardrobe. Behind the curtains. Nothing. Just me, my daughter, and the lingering cold. Picked Hope up. Her skin was icy, her lips trembling. I held her close, whispering, "You're safe. Mommy's here." But my hands, they were shaking. 4 days after that night I kept the lights on. I sprinkled holy water around the house. Daniel brought a pastor to pray. We fasted. We anointed the doors. But the whispers didn't stop. Sometimes I'd be cooking and I'd hear footsteps behind me. Other times, Hope would sit in silence, staring at a corner of the room and say, "He's watching." Daniel didn't want to believe it at first. He thought it was trauma. Memories playing tricks. But one night he saw it too. We were both in bed. Hope had fallen asleep between us. And then, around midnight, her toys started to move. On their own. The teddy bear turned its head. The rubber ball rolled gently across the floor. Daniel jumped up. "Did you see that?" I nodded, frozen. "He's here. His spirit." That same night we heard a knock at the front door. Not once, not twice, 3 times. Daniel opened it, but no one was there. Only a box. He picked it up carefully and brought it inside. I opened it slowly. And inside was a single object. My wedding veil. The one I had lost on our wedding day. Torn and stained with blood. I screamed. I fell to the floor, hugging Hope. "How did he get it?" Daniel called the police. They came. They searched. But they found no fingerprints. No footprints. Nothing. The lead officer pulled Daniel aside and whispered, "Your wife's uncle. He died last week in prison." Daniel's eyes widened. "What?" "Yes," the officer said. "They say it was suicide. But," he lowered his voice, "before he died, he wrote one thing on the wall of his cell, with his own blood. 'She was mine.'" Collapsed again. How could he still haunt me, even in death? Pastor came back. He told us to cleanse the house. Burn anything connected to my past. Pray without stopping. But I knew it wouldn't be enough. I had carried his child. That man's blood lived inside Hope. And somehow, some part of him hadn't left. That night, Hope woke up screaming. I rushed in. She was pointing at the mirror. "He said he's coming to take me." "Who?" I asked, my heart breaking. She whispered, "My real daddy. My real daddy." Hope's whisper cut through my soul like a knife. "No," I said, trying to stay calm. "Daniel is your daddy. The only daddy you have." But she shook her head slowly, still pointing at the mirror. "He said he's my first daddy. He said he made me, and he's coming back for me." I grabbed her and pulled her close. "There's no such man. He's gone. He's dead." But deep inside me, I wasn't sure anymore. Because every night after that, Hope changed. She stopped smiling. She stopped eating her favorite food. She began to hum a strange tune in her sleep, one I had never taught her, one I had never heard before. It was cold, like a funeral song. Daniel and I took her to the church again. They prayed. They fasted. They laid hands on her. But the more they prayed, the more she resisted. He kicked. He screamed. She yelled things a child shouldn't know. At one point during prayer she opened her eyes, dark, cold, and whispered to the pastor, "She was mine. She still is." Everyone froze. Collapsed in tears. "No. Not again. You can't have her." The pastor said quietly, "This is more than trauma. Something was passed to her. Spiritually. Bloodline evil. This is deeper than we thought." We were told to burn anything that came from him. Any photo. Any item that carried his energy. That night we made a fire behind our house. I threw the wedding veil in. Then the dress. Then the torn t-shirt I had worn in the basement, which I had kept all these years. Hidden in a box, thinking I needed it as evidence. But as the flames grew, Hope began to scream in the house. Not cry. Scream. Like her skin was burning. Daniel ran to her. She had collapsed. Her body was shaking. Her voice, not her own, was shouting, "You're killing me. You're killing your blood." I knelt beside her shouting, "You are not him. You are not his. You're my child. Not his." Suddenly her body went still. Silent. Cold. I shook her. "Hope." No response. Daniel called the ambulance. I tried CPR. Nothing. Her eyes were closed. Her lips turned pale. I held her in my arms, screaming, "God, don't take her. Please. Don't let him win." Then suddenly, her body jerked. She gasped. She opened her eyes. And smiled. Not his smile, mine. "Mommy," she said softly. "He's gone now." And blinked. "What?" "He was angry," she said. "But then a light came. A woman in white. She took him away." I hugged her tightly, sobbing. The ambulance arrived. They checked her. Perfect heartbeat. Perfect breath. No damage. Just peace. For the first time since she was born, real peace. That night we all slept without nightmares. For the first time in years, I didn't hear footsteps or whispers. No cold spots. No shadow. Just silence. Hope returned to being herself. Laughing. Drawing. Eating pancakes with too much syrup. And weeks later, I asked her, "Do you still see your real daddy?" She frowned. "No," she said. "I don't think he was ever real. I think he was just pain wearing a face." Smiled. But something still burned inside me. A final truth. And I knew I had to tell her. Because one day, she'd be old enough to ask, "Where did I come from?" The years passed. Hope grew. The pain faded. But the memory never died. She became a bright, curious, beautiful girl. Her laughter filled every corner of the house. She loved painting sunsets, asking deep questions, and sleeping with the lights on, just like I used to. She was nothing like him. She was all me. And Daniel, he stayed. He raised her like his own. He never once made her feel different. Never once reminded me of the past. His love was the steady wind beneath all the storms I'd survived. But the day came just like I knew it would. Hope turned 13. She sat beside me one night, holding a worn-out photo album, and said, "Mom, can I ask you something?" I nodded slowly. "Where's my real dad? I mean, where did I come from?" The words made my chest tighten. My hands went cold. But I was ready. I had practiced this moment for years. I took a deep breath and looked her in the eyes. "You were born from something very dark, but you brought light." She frowned. I continued. "A long time ago someone hurt me. Someone I trusted. He did terrible things. And that's how you came into this world." She was silent. Her eyes watered. I held her hand gently. "But you are not his mistake. You are my miracle. You are mine." She wiped her face. "So, that man was evil." He nodded. "Yes, he tried to ruin me. But instead, God gave me you." She leaned on my shoulder and whispered, "I'm sorry that happened to you, Mom." I cried softly. Not from pain, but from pride. I had survived. We had survived. Later that night I watched her sleep. Her chest rose and fell peacefully. And I realized something. The curse ended with me. My uncle hurt me, but he didn't win. He didn't get my wedding. He didn't get my future. And he did not get my daughter. Instead, I turned the ashes of my life into a garden where hope could grow. Now, as I sit here in this rocking chair, years later, watching Hope play with her own daughter, I realize why I told you this story. Not for pity, not for shock, but for every woman, every girl, every survivor, who thinks her story is over, who thinks she's too broken to be loved, too scarred to heal, too damaged to be a mother. Let my story remind you. Your pain does not define you. Your choice does. You can fight, you can heal, and you can still love. Deeply. Fully, beautifully. Even after the darkness. Even after the basement. Because if I, a broken bride, kidnapped and abused before my wedding, could become a mother, a wife, and a warrior, so can you.
If this story has touched your heart in any way, I kindly ask you to do something simple but powerful. Please take a moment to subscribe to this channel, Grandma's Tales, where true stories are shared with honesty, emotion, healing, and deep life lessons. If you believe stories like this one deserve to be heard, click the like button and share it with someone who needs it. You never know, your action could open someone's eyes or even save a life. And before you go, please leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your words mean a lot to me, and I'd love to know how far Grandma's voice is reaching across the world. On Grandma's Tales, every story is real, every message is true, and every listener matters. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I love you all.